If you want to crush your money goals this year, then setting those goals alone will not be enough. And in this video, we'll talk about why and what you can do instead. Now, if you're anything like me, you don't want to have to keep working for the rest of your life. You would like to become financially free and have options, even when you do like your job. Now, a few years ago, I wanted to grow my net worth, but it didn't grow as much as I would have liked it to. So I got kind of stuck. And then I read a book. You can probably already guess which one. And there was one message in that book that led me to take a closer look at what I was actually doing to achieve my goal of growing my net worth faster. And then what I noticed, at that point I wasn't doing everything that I could have in order to reach my goal. So my system or process to achieve my goal, it wasn't optimized. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the exact step-by-step process that I did to set up my system so that you can also set up yours, in case you ever get stuck with your financial goals. If we haven't met yet, I'm Sophia. I've been learning about personal finance and investing for more than a decade now. I also love to talk about money and how we can build wealth without living frugal. And before I start with the first step, let me review the book that I was talking about. Yep, you guessed it. It was Atomic Habits by James Clear. Now, the whole book is about how we can start applying habits, the right habits, to achieve what we actually want. And the key message that I was talking about for me was goals are about the results you want to achieve. Systems are about the processes that lead to those results. If you're having trouble changing your habits, the problem isn't you, the problem is your system. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. In this message, there is already one thing implied, and it's important for me to include that here, and that will be the step number 1. You do actually need to set goals. I set the goal to grow my net worth, and before I did that, there was a longer period of time where I hadn't actually set a proper goal and I was just wandering around. And if I would be asked the question, what is more important to you, journey or destination? My answer would always be that there is no journey without a destination. Because without a goal, aka a destination in our mind, we are just wandering around. So for me, the first important step was to define a destination and to set a goal that I was working towards. If you're not sure what destination or what goal to set, then you could start with what's bothering you the most about your financial situation at the time, and then formulate it as a goal and write it down. Because apparently writing a goal down makes it 42% more likely that you actually achieve the goal compared to not writing it down. I have a dedicated financial journey for that, where I write down my goals and also some other notes that are related to those goals, like to-do lists. And that actually brings me to step number 2, which is define actions. So James Clear said that we do not rise to the level of our goals just because we set them. Unfortunately, does not automatically mean that we also achieve them. So we do not rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our system, and one part of the system is defining the exact action steps that we have to take. So when I have set the goal of growing my net worth, I knew it just wouldn't magically happen, so I defined the action that I would need to take in order to get there. Now in my case, it's easy. I had a mom who taught me financial literacy, and I also at that point had read many books about money and personal finance, so I already knew that saving and investing was the way. Now, depending on what your goal is, this is probably easy as well. Because let's be honest, most of the time we already know what we have to do. If you want to lose weight, you know this would be to look after your diet and exercise. If you're struggling with debt, you know that you should pay it back instead of getting further into debt. If you want to be able to travel the world, then you should save up some money in order to make it happen. So most of the time we already know the action that is required. And what helped me was to go into detail. Hypothetically, in case of a diet, this could mean, okay, let me drink water instead of Coke, or snack nuts instead of a chocolate bar. In my case of saving and investing, it was define the part of my income that I want to save and invest, and for example, also figure out an investment strategy. Now, just in case you really do not know what the action is, then a sub-step of the step would be to just research. So type into Google or to YouTube how to X, and then you'll find several different action steps that you can implement. And then step number 3 is implement a process. So to actually do the things that we just defined. But I do think that implementation is actually the trickier part. But this is also exactly how we set up the system and set up the process that will then lead to us achieving our goal. So for me, that was save 30% of my income every month. And my process was, okay, first define how much that is. So 30% of my salary, and I calculate how much it is. So I have a number, an exact amount of money that I transfer. That, by the way, is also something that I put into my financial journey. And then set up a recurring transfer over that amount of money that I just defined and set the date for that recurring transfer right after I receive my income. And when I think of a process like this, I want to make it as easy as possible, which is also what James Clear recommends in this book. And easy for me in that particular situation meant to make it a recurring and automatic transfer, because then I had to only set it up once and then afterwards it just kept working for me. Another way of easy, the way I see it, depending on your goal, would be to start with what's possible, because we don't want the process to become frustrating. Now, I started saving and investing 30% of my income, and I became frustrated about how slowly my net worth was growing still. So that's why I found ways to increase it. Maybe for you, it frustrates you that you are not able to spend more on things you love. And then I'd probably say, choose a lower number, but one that is sustainable over a long period of time. Because especially when it comes to money, we're in this for the long haul. And now this does sound like we're done, doesn't it? And if you only do these 3 steps, you will reach your goal at some point. Because you set the destination, you defined the action steps, and you also found a way to implement the action steps. So if you only do these 3 steps, you're already on the right track towards your destination. But as for my example, as you might remember, all of the steps that I was talking about up until this point were things before I hit the roadblock, because my net worth was growing, just not as fast as I hoped it would. So we're not done. Step number 4 is track your progress. So a few days, a few weeks, a few months after you have started implementing the process, look at where you actually stand. Because looking at my actual results was the only way to find out that I'm not on track. Okay, so not on track at all, but also not as far as I wish to be. So having points of reference is important to evaluate if you're moving towards your goal, also how fast you're moving towards your goal, or maybe if you're even moving away from it. And the way I tracked my goal, I tracked my net worth is with an Excel sheet. Now, I've been using this one for many, many years now. I calculate my net worth 4 times a year, each quarter, and I also put a graph into the Excel sheet so that I can literally see how my net worth develops. And this visual aspect has become a big motivator for me. As you can tell by the example I chose, grow my net worth faster. If you want, you can use mine as well. It's completely free and there's a link down below. And then step number 5 is to improve the system or improve the process. So after tracking how far you've come towards your goal, find ways to improve what you have been doing and also what you can do additionally to that to get there faster if that's what you want. So for me, first I looked at what I was doing. I saved and invested 30% of my income. But then I found that this was actually not enough for me because I was unhappy with the results. So I still kept this process because after all, it did grow my net worth. And additionally, I looked into ways how I can improve my system. And by taking a closer look, I realized that, I am saving and investing 30%, but only of my salary. But I also realized that I was not saving from money that came in from extra shifts. Because as a doctor, I had to work night shifts and also shifts on weekends as well, and that brought in extra money. I also did not save from money that my mom had transferred me once in a while. So the way I improved my system, I started to save and invest from all the money that came into my bank account. So not just my salary, and then my net worth grew faster, much faster. And as much as I'm a fan of setting up a system once and then keep letting it work for you, which is what steps 1 to 3 were all about, but I also think that as we keep evolving in life, we need to evolve our system with us. And that's what the steps 4 and 5 do. So hopefully you got some inspiration of how to set up your own money system, whatever that means to you. If you want to dive deeper into setting financial goals the proper way, you can watch this video next. Thank you for watching. I hope this helps, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.